All right, it's that time again. Headed to training. Then boxing. Today's boxing day, not kickboxing. So, what I want to cover is confusion and conflict. Okay, so specifically how it affects you as a person when you grow up in conflict and confusion at home, and it affects you in a lot of bad ways, guys. So what I've noticed throughout my life is people who grew up in unstable environments, not peaceful environments, unstable. They usually, there are some rare cases where they don't, but usually what happens is that gets intertwined, or I don't know, it's a fancy word, but mingled in their personal lives and views, so the way they view things in life or relationships. So sometimes people always obviously ideally prefer stable, peaceful environments. Obviously, who doesn't, right? Everybody just wants to wake up, have a cup of coffee, tea, smoothie, whatever you're into, and start their day and have a good day, right? So nobody wants to wake up and say, okay, today I'm going to have a conflict on purpose, or that's what I want. Obviously not, but subconsciously it's there if you grew up in one. And so what I did notice is in their personal relationships, they usually sabotage something good or stable. So if a guy grew up in an unstable environment and the girl didn't, the guy is gonna bring instability into her life. So everything becomes an argument, everything becomes a back and forth. It's always some kind of conflict, because unfortunately, even though some like people that do it, they don't realize it, but since they're so used to conflict, they just thrive on conflict. And I know this sounds I mean, it's not good, but they do. Sometimes I even notice if they have something stable and peaceful, they kind of see that as strange or weird. They're like, no, things shouldn't be stable. There needs to be a conflict. I need to cause a conflict. So it's just a matter of time before that the situation explodes, and it could be something very minor, and then it just escalates and becomes something big, and then boom, conflict. So obviously the other person is going to react. We're all human beings. And then here we go. The relationship becomes sabotaged. So it's not just always relationships. So I'm not talking about intimate relationships. I'm talking about any relationship, whether it's a sibling, your parents, and loved ones, and then obviously like personal relationship too. So yeah, and it always, guys, again, I've covered this stuff a lot in my videos, how upbringing and early childhood development affects you for the rest of your life. That this is one. It comes from the parents. It comes at home. Either two things happen. Either one of the parent is always absent, so the pressure of raising the kids is on one of them. So usually it's the case where the mom ends up with all the responsibilities that she clearly cannot handle, and it's not her fault necessarily, because it takes, there's a saying, it says it takes a village to raise a kid. So, and it's very true. So it starts at home, right? The mom is going to need the dad's help with raising the kids, and it's not just, oh, dad goes disappears for days, works, okay, thanks, but it takes a lot more than just working and money to raise kids. You gotta be there, you gotta be present in their lives, you gotta make sure what's going on in their lives, you gotta make sure you talk to them, you make sure that you explain things to them. Obviously they're kids, they're not gonna understand everything, but as long as you lay the foundation, talk to them, boost their confidence and self-esteem, and tell them, hey, this is that. You will make mistakes, but just watch out and be observant, and if there's an issue, you can always come to your me or your mom and talk it through, and we will resolve it, right? So that's very, very important. That security in kids is very crucial. So once you give them that security, that trust, kids will end up far better than the kids that never had that. So mistrust, right? Where does it start? Or distrust? It starts at home. Kids, when they stop trusting their parents for whatever reason, that's it. They turn to what? They turn to other people. They turn to perhaps strangers. They turn to their peers, which is even worse, right? So if you're like a 14-year-old kid, and then you're turning to another 14-year-old kid, what to do? I mean, come on. What will the other 14-year-old kid tell you? He or she's gonna probably tell you the same thing or worse. So there's a big difference between a 30-year-old, 35, 40-year-old that has been through that stuff in life and knows, if you do these things, where you end up, than a 14, a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old that hasn't. Right? So this is where experience comes from, and you got to put that experience to good use as a parent. So yeah, and then conflicts and so when kids don't trust people at home in their homes, they usually kind of become rebellious, and then the parents are like, well, I don't know what's going on, I've heard this many times, guys, where and I write about them and I watch them. Parents just at times act very oblivious when it's actually their fault and responsibility. So they're like, yeah, so my son, my daughter, yeah, you cannot control every single thing. Obviously, they're going to go to school, they're going to meet friends, they're going to go outside. Yes, they will be exposed to a lot of stuff. But as a parent, foundation, right? The foundation that when it's set good and proper, kids will always come back to their foundation, and they will make mistakes, but quickly revert back to their foundation that you have laid. So who are the two biggest examples that kids have? We all know this, guys. It's our parents. We always look up to our parents as examples. So that's why it's really important for people who are older at home to set a good example. They may not necessarily get it, but they will remember, okay, my dad was this, my dad was responsible, he had integrity, he had honesty, he was good, and my mom same. So kids, that's their biggest example for the rest of their lives. When you set that example bad, well, then don't say stuff like, oh, I don't know, my kid ended up like this, it was her and his friends, yeah, no. I mean, there's a reason why they attract people like that in the first place. So why did they trust them more than you? Like, why? How did they end up bringing people like that, listening to them, valuing what they say far more than you? That's bad. I always, whenever I made mistakes, my biggest fear was not even what I did. I wasn't even at that time, obviously. I was like, I wasn't really thinking what I've done. The biggest fear I had in my head is, what if my dad and mom find out? What if the neighbor tells my dad or mom? What if the school tells my mom and dad? In school, I was good. I wasn't doing stuff like that where the school had to call my parents. But let's say we played and a neighbor watched us. And then they obviously knew my parents, because where I spent my childhood years before coming here at the age of 14, we in our block, everybody knew each other. They knew each other's parents. The parents trusted the neighbors. The neighbors would like watch us, make sure that we're not getting in trouble or something. And then the neighbors would tell us, hey, don't do that. That's not right. So my biggest fear was, I do not want to disappoint my mom and dad. And same thing with my peers. They were like, I don't want my dad to find out and get disappointed, and mom to find out and get disappointed. Obviously, those our parents were old school, so there will be some butt whooping too, which was also like a big fear. I was like really like scared of my dad. I say if my dad finds out, I'm gonna definitely get some really, really ass whooping. And for our parents, the neighbors were always right. The teacher is always right. Even if the teacher would be like wrong, we couldn't say that because the ass whooping would be even more. Like how dare you say your teacher was wrong? Teacher is always right, and neighbor is always right. You did this. So yeah, it was frustrating, but at least I'm glad they did, because it taught us respect. It taught us how to like listen to people who were older than us, even if they were not always right. We still listen. We're like, okay, this guy, this woman has lived long. She has raised kids. She has grandkids. This guy has grandkids, kids. So obviously he knows a thing or two more than me in life. So again, yeah, my biggest fear was to not let my mom and dad down, and that was out of respect, because the kind of example they set. So yeah, conflict. I know I kind of a little drifted off, but again, like I'm saying, right, conflict and confusion, right? So people who grow up in their become their in their late 20s and 30s, they're very conflicted and confused, and it starts at home, because that instability was at home. The foundation is not really there, so they constantly pick different paths in life. They think, oh, if I go down this path, it's gonna be my solve my problems, or if I go this path, but it doesn't. So they're constantly flipping around, so they're constantly changing. They become this, and then that doesn't work, and then they follow this path, and then that doesn't work, and then so it causes more confusion, right, depending on their age too. So it's more confusion. Now you're looking back and trying to make sense out of your experiences, and see how you can put it together, and you cannot, because you did so many chaotic things that you cannot even put together as an experience, or to use in a positive way. Maybe, I guess, you will find a way. I mean, I'm sure there's always positive in everything, but it will be hard, because it causes more conflict and confusion in your mind. You really don't know how to put it together, instead of following one path which should have been inspired by your parents, so that way at least you have something coherent to follow as an example or as an experience. Now you have done so many different chaotic things, jump from here to there, jump from here to there. You're super confused, and you have no idea how to put it all together, which causes more resentment towards yourself, and then you're going to take that resentment into somebody else's life, and just cause conflicts, and constantly be stuck in the cycle of confusion and conflict in your life. So yeah, guys, I'm sure you have come across people like that. Maybe you have family members that are that way. Maybe you have had relationships that were that. Maybe you are in a relationship right now that's like that. And the root cause is, guys, when I say guys, I'm including everyone, is not oh, did I do this? Maybe this caused this. No, it goes back, guys. It goes back years. Okay, this is something that the person brought with them from their childhood, from their family, from their parents. It's not you, and there's no damn thing you can do, even if you try to help or say, hey, maybe things will get better. I've done the same thing, and I can tell you from my own anecdotal experience. Obviously, you guys make your own decisions and do your own thing, but it just doesn't work, because they again, the kids just revert back to what they're used to, and it just gets more frustrating over time, right? So you're like, okay, and the more effort you put in, the harder it gets for you to walk out, because now you're like, okay, I've done this, I've spent this much time with this person. How the hell do I just like walk out and start over, right? It's that much harder. to do. So unfortunately, I mean, unfortunately you get stuck, and then just like constant confusion, constant conflict, up and down, boom, 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 like a freaking ACG scan. It's a heart scan, right? So when the doc looks at your heart, there's like, I've seen it in movies, obviously with my own family too, when I take my mom sometimes to her appointments. There's that scanner, right? The heartbeat. Yeah, it's like that. You're gonna be living that kind of life. It's not gonna be, well, obviously in a heart rate case, if it's a flat line, that's bad, because that means the person has died. Now in life there will be up and downs, obviously. So you're gonna, obviously in life there are up and downs. This car just wanted to merge and couldn't even wait to get behind me, whatever. So what I was saying, yeah, in life there will be ups and downs, but not like that, not like chaotic up and downs, right? So yes, there will be times in your life where things will happen that you have to deal with, but that doesn't mean you're unstable. It's just life, but not chaotic. Chaos is something else. Okay guys, video is getting too long, 16 minutes. I'm gonna sign out. Stuck in this traffic, morning traffic. All right guys, take care, be safe.